Hey, everybody, welcome once again to Nerds with Alcohol. I am Russ.
And I'm Chris.
And this is episode 205, guys. 205, back in the virtual nerd basement. And we have a very special guest today, guys. Please
right
welcome
down there.
Back. Right down there, or to the side. Or down,
it's down there.
I believe, on the page. Welcome back, Shawn Nicolin, to the show, guys. For those of you remember, one of our very first guests on episode 6, I believe it was. So literally 201 episodes ago. Shawn, welcome back to our.
Welcome back.
What have you guys been doing for 200 episodes? Like not a lot.
No, not much. You know, we just talk about the same shit every time.
You didn't have a bunch of episodes without me, did you?
A few.
A couple.
Just
a couple.
I mean, we planned to have you back sooner, but everything, the world just is.
Well, and there was the whole move thing, and
yes,
yeah, and
New Jersey.
Then the last season of Game of Thrones happened, and
and then Justice League and Endgame. I mean,
I got to meet people that were in the last episode of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, he did actually. That was really cool. People that were like. Whether they were the wolf trainers too.
Well, yeah, I actually got to meet 2 of the dire wolves, and pet them. They were really cool, as well as the guy who owned and trained them. Well, he owned them. He didn't really train them. They had professional trainers, but I got to meet him. He played one of the Dothraki. He actually also played one of the wildlings, and then his dad actually played the Dothraki slave master, who I also got to meet. He was actually a pretty cool guy.
Yeah.
And then I actually met the guy who was Grey Worm's body double. He was actually our tour guide. He's actually really cool. I've been trying to work out a thing. Yeah, Ireland, Northern Ireland. But yeah, we've been trying to work out a schedule. I keep talking to him every once in a while, but with a 5-hour time difference, it's tough. But he actually wants to come on the show.
Yep. So, kind of cool. So, first of all, let's start at the beginning. Chris, how was your week?
Well, it was pretty good, actually. Got some really good news from work. I mean, other than that, we're busy as hell, but we had our holiday party, and they gave us some really good news.
Which is?
Well, just more time off, more money, things like that. So.
Oh, great.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a good thing. They basically said if you started in 2019 or before, you're going to get a 10% raise this year, period.
Nice.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
That's great.
But yeah, other than that, it was pretty much just a week as usual. I mean, we had our game on Friday night.
Right.
Tavern Nights, which
I was late because of a job.
Yeah, and I love you come in, you're like, what the fuck are you fighting?
Yeah. We'll get into that in a minute. What's that?
Tavern Nights. If people want to watch this show, where could they find it?
It's interesting that you asked that, Shawn. Tavern Nights is streamed on Twitch on our Twitch show.
So right here, actually, on Twitch.
Right here on Twitch. Every other Friday night
at 7
o'clock.
Yep.
And Tavern Nights, you guys are playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles GURPS, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. It's a lot. We decided to go old school Palladium gaming for that kind of shit. We're thinking of transitioning over to Riffs to bring the TMNT into Cyberpunk, and then loop that over into a fantasy setting, and then fight vampires.
It's too bad that Cyberpunk as a genre completely died, and there hasn't been anything about it in the news at all. It's been
nothing. Absolutely.
But
nothing.
We're on Twitch. We're also on YouTube if you want to catch up.
Yeah, we also post all of them on YouTube about 4 or 5 days later. So
yeah, well, whenever I can get to it. Work's been crazy, and I haven't even had time to work on it at lunch.
So Shawn, how was your week? How have things been going in the lovely state of New Jersey, the Garden State?
Lovely state of New Jersey. Well, here in
how many exits are you from Red Bank? So
Not enough.
You're in Newark. Are you still in Newark?
Actually, Red Bank's a lovely town. I did actually go down there with a buddy of mine like a year and a half ago, and yes, we got our pictures in front of the convenience store.
Nice.
We went to the secret stash.
Nice. I've been there too. It's awesome.
Well, yeah,
a couple selfies with Buddy Christ statue in the back of the store. We saw where they do Comic Book Men. It's a nice town. It's got a really cool arcade in the town that you don't see too many of those.
The secret stash actually is moving currently.
Oh, yeah. All right.
I just saw Kevin Smith announce that they're moving. They said the secret stash is closing, and then he said, "But we're going to reopen in a new location, just down the street." So,
yeah. What I don't think you don't get from Clerks when you see the convenience store is how close that is to the ocean. It's like it's like a block or two away from the ocean.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. When we were there, it was just like a bunch of Jersey Shore kids stopping in to grab like beer and snacks on their way to the beach.
So it is an actual working store still?
Yes. You go in there, and behind the counter, they have all of these like Polaroids and pictures of while they were filming Clerks and Clerks 2 and all the movies that have been referenced there. So a lot of people like mugging for the camera, these very like poorly exposed old photographs, and they just have them posted on a big wall, or they did a year and a half ago. So that was kind of cool to see.
Cool. That's cool. Yeah, I
did look in the back though at the bathroom, and decided to not go in there because that bathroom. If you remember Clerks.
Yes.
No, never again. I checked it out when I worked at that New Jersey Renaissance Festival, and I drove during the week. I drove to Red Bank, and it was like a 45-minute drive from where I was. And I didn't check out. I didn't go to Quick Stop, but I went to the Secret Stash, and it was cool. It was Walt Flanagan was there working on some drawings, and a couple of guys from the show behind the counter. It was cool. It was just like, hey, wow, this, and all of the crazy shit everywhere. And, all the Kevin Smith memorabilia, and I think the thing that disturbed me the most was the Tusk suit that was up in the rack. Whew, that was a painful memory right there. Yeah. So for me,
too close to home.
Just probably one of the worst movies of all time. Just really bad. And it hurt me because I really like Kevin Smith, so the fact that he made that film, I was bummed out.
So Shawn, someone just posted, actually Wingscoop, my wife, just posted saying, "Now that's a beer." She saw you drinking out of the stein.
Oh no, this is my palate cleanser. Because I actually never caught on to beer. I've never found a beer that I really liked. So this is actually whiskey right here, and then the mountain of other international beverages that I have beside here, in case our conversation goes that way.
Shawn is an alcohol, like a aficionado of kind of
more of, I wouldn't say aficionado as much as hoarder.
A hoarder that.
So
his bar was substantial. So
mine's not bad.
What's that? No, yours is amazing. But it's mostly beer.
No, it's not.
No, I mean, when you really think about the grand variety of things that you have in your basement,
I have a lot of beer, but you haven't been here since we really have expanded the liquor collection, particularly gin, because Renee is a huge gin fan. We have gin from all over the world.
So anyway, this week for me, I
don't believe you, Chris. You're going to have to prove it to
me. Take the camera downstairs. But anyways, yeah, it was a crazy week for me because once again, this is only the first week, second week, and now I guess this week. But last week was the first week past Thanksgiving, so I'm still kind of getting used to not working 80-hour weeks, and that was hell, by the way. Crazy. But this week this past week, I started working at the Canterbury Village Christmas stroll as Buddy the Elf. And
I think that picture needs to go up on Facebook on the Nerds page that you sent us.
Well, you know what? I'm going to send better pictures when I get the full real Buddy costume, because what happened, they ordered a Buddy the Elf costume and wig, and official wig. The wig came in, but the costume did not. And so they have me in a Santa Elf costume. Thankfully, the jacket is green because Buddy wears a green jacket. And he still wears a hat, and the curly headed wig is really the thing that sells it more than anything else.
I think the fans demand to see a picture.
All right, give me a minute.
I
know. So anyway, let me see if I can just pull it off of the Discord. But yeah, so we
probably can.
Hang on.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's you wearing it with the what you call it, the mask on.
Yeah, I do have a face mask on. Here, let's see. To do that, and unfortunately, save image preview. I don't know. Unfortunately, like I said, I was wearing my glasses in this picture. I don't walk around in my glasses though, while I'm in this costume. Mainly because it's I don't know. Buddy doesn't wear a mask, so neither do, or I mean, doesn't wear glasses, so yeah, neither do I. Plus, I really don't want to be constantly like having to pull it away so my glasses stop fogging up. Because I tell you guys, this is fucking cold. It's all outdoors. It's at, like I said, Old World Canterbury Village. And it's it's been fun doing this, but at the same time, it's fucking cold.
You know, Chris, in IT jobs, there's just a lot of staying inside in nice warm spaces, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I didn't go down the IT route, and there are definitely days that I regret it, particularly
join the IT crowd.
Here we go.
Oh, wow.
Oh, did you find them? Get them?
There we go.
Share them?
Just real quick. I put it up over the video for a second. So
you put it up on the Twitch stream?
Yep.
Oh, for God's sake.
So that's it. That's it right there. That's
Well, here I've got a close up of me with the mask on. Let me pull that up. Or me with just the wig. And I'll pull that up and share the screen.
Russ, nothing Chris and I
you have to
is any worse than the things you do to yourself.
That's probably true. Chris, you'd have to enable image sharing on the share screen. But anyway, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been fun playing Buddy the Elf. I watched Elf twice to kind of get into the character, and it's a lot of it is talking way up here like this. Hi guys, I'm Buddy the Elf, and I just like to smile. Smiling's my favorite. The best way to spread Christmas cheer is to sing loud for all to hear. I'm getting some really great response. People are really, really enjoying it. Apparently, we got a great review, a couple of great reviews over the weekend, and they particularly talked about Buddy, and because I talk to the kids a lot. It's been a lot of fun, but I am, like I said, looking forward to getting the actual costume so that I can kind of really dive into it and have fun. So
here we go. Hold on, let's see. Yep, there we go. There's Buddy. There's Russ with the just the
the wig kind of looks like your hair, Shawn, but or maybe
I was about to say that's like my bed head in the morning.
Yeah. Maybe from a few years ago.
So I have this Dutch curly hair, but don't worry, it's tempered by the Welsh curly hair. So
exactly.
So remember in school, people would say, "Don't you ever comb your hair?" I said, "Yes, all the time." It doesn't do a damn thing. Yeah.
The funny thing is the wig actually it's very much like how my hair when I was a little kid, because my hair was like a crazy.
So CD wants to know how much sugar you ate to prepare for that.
All of it. Elves like to stick to the 4 food groups: candy, candy canes, candy corn, and syrup. People quiz me. They fucking quiz me.
Russ, at least you haven't traded your dignity for a paycheck.
It's a sad, sad day. At least at the Halloween stroll, I got to play Oliver Ogre. I mean, that's my character. But this guy, and like I said, it's been fun. And but it's freezing. It's freezing cold. I've got like 4 layers of clothes underneath.
It's supposed to be in the 40s this weekend.
Yeah, but it's supposed to also rain.
Yeah.
So
yep.
I ain't standing out in the rain, man. No, fuck that. But it has been a good time. It has been fun. It's just it is a little uncomfortable. So
Chris, this is Nerds with Alcohol. I think we've established the nerd credentials so far here. Over 200 episodes. What alcohol? What have you got there?
I am drinking a beer. I don't actually have a picture of this one because this is a beer from Royal Oak Brewery, which is a local brew pub. They do not distribute, so you have to get them in growlers or on-prem, which right now, due to COVID, it's mostly just growlers. They do have igloos that you can actually rent now, as well as their heated patio if it's nice enough. But
you're just alone in the cold while you drink yourself.
Yes.
Until you're warm again.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is the Jeremy Alt beer. The head brewer at Royal Oak Brewing is Jeremy Altier, who has been on the show. He was actually on our 100th episode.
Yeah, he was.
Where we did our live show at Royal Oak Brewing. But this is a beer that he's made for years. And he makes it once in a while. It's an alt. It's an alt beer, which is a kind of a German red type of style. Comes out. It's a nice reddish coppery color.
Nice.
It's a very malty beer. It's kind of got almost. It's kind of a biscuity taste. There's almost no hop flavor whatsoever in this.
I would like that one.
It actually balances out. There is hops added, but the hops don't come through. It's more just to balance out the sweetness of the malt, and it actually comes out really good. I really like this. It's actually pretty dry, but this is one of my favorite ones that he's done. I look forward to whenever he puts it on tap. But yeah, like I said, his name's Jeremy Altier, so this is Jeremy Alt Beer. So it's I give this one. This is probably 4.5. 4 and 3/4 stars, or bottle caps. This is out of 5. This is really good. This is one of my favorites that he does. He does everything he does is actually really good, but this is one of my favorites. So what about you, Russ? What do you got tonight?
Tonight I just have a triple jam, which is one of my standbys from Blake's Hard Cider. We've reviewed it quite a bit over the years, over the last year or so. Once again, as always, a great berry cider from Blake's. Fantastic. It used to be called the Traffic Jam until they had some legal difficulties, but it's really fantastic. I also had some more of this season's wonderful
Black Fang.
Thank you, Black Fang.
It's your favorite one. You can't even think of the name of it.
I barely had anything to drink. You know what it was? I went to friggin' Myers and we went shopping, and that just made my brain hurt. So yeah, I had some Black Fang last night too. The guys, if you guys get the opportunity, this season's Black Fang, it is Bee Nectar's fall seasonal cider, and it's really fantastic. So
one of the things I definitely miss about Southeast Michigan was the alcohol. I have to say there were so many great small distilleries, cider orchards, just a little bit of a drive away, meaderies right there. So many just great options right there, and you really miss it when you move to a place that has really Byzantine liquor laws. And
I think we I think we kind of have. I think Michigan has some of the highest number of meaderies in the country,
Mm-hmm.
in our state. So,
Well,
yeah,
we got a couple meaderies, but we have one of the highest amounts of breweries in the country.
Yeah, for sure.
Grand Rapids.
Yeah. What's funny is when Renee and I went to Ireland, they said, "Yeah, we've got 64 craft breweries now in Ireland," and we were like, "Oh, that's cute." We have more than that in Metro Detroit.
Yeah, that ain't nothing. Yeah. So, Shawn, what are you drinking right now?
I am drinking. So I decided I would hit my stash of liquors that I brought back from travels in different parts of the world. When I travel, I like to get something that's sort of not exclusive to that region, but sort of very telling of that region, right? So maybe you could get it in the States if you really hunted hard enough. This one was a trip to Paris. It's a whiskey, Guion whiskey, quite good. If I was to describe it, it would be like eating a caramel while the guy who sold you the caramel was next to a campfire, like the night before. So like mostly sweet, but like right at the end, there's just a little bit of that smoky taste, but without kind of being disruptive or without being too hard. I mean, I've had whiskeys before that tasted like licking the ashes from last night's campfire, and this is not that at all. This is exactly my speed. Super sweet. So
Very cool.
really
Very
enjoying
cool.
that.
Well, you got some other liquors there, some other drinks. You wanna tell us some about it?
Sure.
You talk about that though, just as you're getting those. Renee and I, when we go to Ireland, we try and get something from one of the areas we went to. Like the first time we went, we got a bottle of 18-year-old Jameson to bring home.
Nice.
We also got a bottle of Galway whiskey, which was a bunch of pubs in Galway along this one street all got together and made their own whiskey and had it aged for 10 years. And then they bottled it and all of the pubs were selling it. And once it was gone, it was gone. So we got a bottle of that. And then last time we were there, we got a bottle of Bushmills Distillers Reserve.
And you have some of this in your basement.
Yes.
See, I don't believe you. I'm going to have to come over and you'll have to prove it to
me. Okay.
Man, next time you come to town, we'll all three of us get together and get fucking hammered over.
Well, that was the thing. We brought the bottle of Jameson back, and we invited all our friends over that we knew liked whiskey and were whiskey drinkers and could appreciate it, and basically pulled it out and went, boom! This bottle dies tonight, and we
Nice.
drank the whole bottle.
Nice. So
I think I was in Florida at the time.
Yeah, you were invited, but you couldn't make it.
He was being a responsible adult. So I've got here, for anyone familiar with Amsterdam, I have some Genever and some corn wine from the Bols Distillery, which are very Dutch. Genever is sort of the predecessor to gin. Essentially, the English got a hold of it and tried to make it themselves. And it wasn't quite the same, so they just called it gin. They just shortened the name to gin. So the English gin, this is very, very close. It's got some slightly different notes to it. It comes in this nice blue, like Delftware bottle, straight from the Bols Distillery.
That's actually really cool. I like the bottle.
Yeah. And then after you're done, you get a really cool bottle. And then there's also corn wine, which I can only describe as a really good gin. But then while you're tasting the gin, you think, well, this is also a really good whiskey. And then you like your tongue can't decide if it's gin or whiskey. And when I can't decide, this is the go-to, and it's pretty good. and it's quite good. And again, another cool bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Another cool bottle here.
Yeah, Valentine's distillery here in Ferndale does an Old Tom gin that. One of my absolute
favorites.
Yeah,
one of my absolute
favorites. When I heard about it, the guy that told me about it was like, "Yeah, it's gin that drinks like a scotch."
Yeah, if I was to describe it, or I think I have described it this way, it's like if you would pair gin with a lime, Valentine's Old Tom, I would actually pair with an orange.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Got a bit of that oakiness to it that really rounds it out, almost a citrus note.
Yep.
One of my absolute favorites, and I stock up when I go back to Michigan. It's definitely. I just must think I'm this like errant alcoholic who wanders in like once every 6 months, throws down a wad of money, and it's just like, give me 5 of these.
I'm taking them across state lines.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Valentine's, actually.
So this was given to me by a coworker. This is from Slovakia. It's called Tatra tea.
From Slovakia.
It's alcoholic tea. It's really sweet and really tasty. Although when someone gave it to me there, they said the tea is for teleportation. I said, the tea is for teleportation. Why is that? And they said, because when you drink it, then you wake up and you don't know how you got there.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's really good if you like tea and also alcohol, and you're in Slovakia. I recommend.
Well, next time I get the chance to go to Slovakia.
In one of your many trips.
One of my many trips to Slovakia to Europe.
I have this tasty thing from Prague, from the Czech Republic. Let me get some better lighting here. Bechkorovka. It's like an herbal liqueur. So it doesn't have the licorice taste that you might think of when you think of herbal liqueur. It's quite sugary as well. And it comes in these wonderful, like not at all fancy bottles, like the bottom shelf of the liquor store, but it's really, really interesting. I don't even remember what it tastes like, probably because in the Czech Republic they don't actually drink water, and so all their liquor is that much stronger because of it.
They don't. Wait a minute. In the Czech Republic, they don't drink water.
So they drink beer with everything. Water in Europe, if you go to a restaurant, you just don't get a cup of water put down like that. They just keep refilling. If you want water, you have to order a bottle of water, and it will either come with or without bubbles. And in the Czech Republic, it's actually only very slightly cheaper, if not sometimes more expensive, than ordering one of their local beers, like a Pilsner or Kel. And so everyone pretty much drinks beer, lunchtime, dinner, they just pound it down. So what that means is everyone has a fantastically high alcohol tolerance. So when they go to liquor, it's amazing. You really don't need a lot of it. This was a wonderful little gift set. This is, I think it's called Sliverice. Is the one made out of plums. And the best way I can describe it is like tequila made from plums. It's got this fruity taste to it. Once you get past the burning. And it comes in the tiny bottles because all you need to do is smell this to get loosened up a little bit. Tequila wishes it were as intense as these fruity little dangerous bottles right here.
I think I remember you had that. You've had those for a while because I remember you showing that to me before.
Yes, yeah, because it's not often I feel like getting that out of my own head by drinking a quarter of one of those tiny little potion vials. It's like a potion of insanity +3. It's bonkers. And then the most exotic of my collection is yonder. It's Canadian. You can tell it's very exotic.
Yeah. All the way from Costco.
All the way from the land of Kirk.
Yes.
The land of the churches, if you were, yes. So quite good. Also
Kirkland, isn't that Iowa?
Yes. Yeah, it would be.
Yes.
It's a landlubber.
So I'll be working my way around the globe tonight.
Nice. Hopefully he doesn't have to work tomorrow.
Yeah, like Renee had said, she has like 13 gins from 6 different countries downstairs right now.
And Russ, that's the great thing about working with so many people from the Czech Republic.
Is they bring you more booze?
Well, that, and they completely understand.
Of course they do. Jesus. All right. we should probably move on.
Yeah.
So, Chris, where do you want to start tonight?
Well, big new game coming out. Sort of
Yeah.
got mentioned earlier, but Cyberpunk 2077 is finally coming out tomorrow. Actually,
Yeah.
they moved the date up because it is being released worldwide at midnight Warsaw time.
Aha. That's why.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. I've heard some things about the game. It's getting overall.
It's getting some mix that I've seen.
Well, I've seen mostly positive reviews.
Yeah.
That it's beautiful, that it is that it's really a good game. It's a lot of fun. And the thing is, one of the things I've heard, like if you only play the base game, like you just do the main story, you're only looking at about maybe 20 hours of gameplay. Like you can burn through that.
I read that somebody did the game just doing mostly the story missions on the hardest level, and it was 175 hours.
Okay. That's not what I read. I read that it's a surprisingly short game, but when you add all the other things that are into the game, all the side quests. And the thing is, they say that side quests, it's a misnomer, because the side quests really are still very much a big part of the story. So there's a lot of side quests. There's gigs that they call, there's things just called gigs. There's a lot of collectible stuff. There's, getting your, weapon collecting and vehicle collecting and stuff like that. You never want to do any kind of fast traveling, because you're almost doing yourself a disservice, because everything looks so great. So the thing about it too is, the other thing I heard is that, okay, for one thing, the download size is just over 100 gigabytes on the PS4 and the PS5. So it's a big fucking game, like just really massive download.
Who do they think they are? Blizzard Entertainment? What is it?
God, crazy, right? It says the initial download is a hefty 102.447 gigabytes. And which is nearly 50% larger than the recommended hard drive space for the PC version of the game. That's just the download size. The actual hard drive footprint could be slightly smaller or a good deal larger, depending on a few factors, most notably the day one patch of the game. The day one patch of the game is 43 gigs.
Really glad I got the 1 gig internet service now.
Yeah. They're saying... they're actually saying too that they've also heard this report that where is it? As it clocks in, it's Cyberpunk 2077 is a different game after console update, says CDPR developers. This should quell some of the concerns about Cyberpunk 2077 console performance. They're saying that some of the complaints are fairly minor graphical complaints, things like vehicles being invisible or weapons being, disappearing, things like that.
Well, how do we know that in the year 2077 they just don't have invisible vehicles?
Well, you'd think that they would.
Maybe you have to pay extra to get the invisible vehicle.
Yeah, that's an option.
It's a collectible.
It's an aftermarket option.
It's not a bug.
It's a caveat.
It's a caveat. Missing vehicles, floating weapons, or random stuck menu bars. But one of that CDPR has promised to patch out that sort of stuff with the day one patch. A bunch of issues reviewers and counter reported have been fixed already, and some more are part of the update. So, there always is at least a good size update when.
One of the other things that they're doing is they are adding a new epilepsy warning to the game.
I heard that too. Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess the when you put on in the game, whenever you go into the net and you put on the VR goggles to go to do some net running, there's like a 5-second flash of lights, and they said that it actually has caused epileptic seizures.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah, and that the clubs and going into a club, or there was something else they said was a possible trigger for epileptic seizures as well.
I usually felt triggered when I'd go into clubs. So
Yeah, particularly when you see some, some like preppy douchebag go into City Club. Just kind
So-
of. You just want to go up and go, are you sure you're in the right place? Do
I
you
just
know
wanna
where
hit
you
on some
are?
hot goth chicks, man. I'm just here to hit on some hot goth. Man, those hot goth chicks will kick you in the nuts, and you'll thank them for it.
So working in IT security, I really like the kind of subculture, the hacker subculture, the IT security subculture that you run into at conferences and things like that. I have to say, regardless of if the gameplay is a complete waste, at the very least, they've generated some really interesting aesthetic, some really amazing looking stills. They really tried, and the soundtrack. If you listen to any of the music from this game, they have it all over YouTube to promote the game. The soundtrack is incredible.
Yeah,
Really incredible.
Yeah, I haven't actually started listening to it yet. I know I supposedly get with the copy of the game that I bought, I get a copy of the both a digital download and a CD of the soundtrack.
Now isn't there's a fictional band in the game, and then they released a whole CD of music from the band.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool.
At least that's what I've heard. And then some of the other, there's the sort of background music of the game, but then there's actual music, actual songs. They've hired artists to come together and produce full songs from sort of this sort of like digital sort of glitch hip hop kind of aesthetic, rap aesthetic, all the way to like straight like angry woman screaming industrial sound. And anywhere in that range, which is completely where all of my musical interests lie.
Yeah.
So, even if the game is completely fallen apart, I have to say, I think the art design team has done a fantastic job on the sound and on the look and the feel of it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think I'm really looking forward to it, and I think and I'm just from Shawn, from you mentioning the soundtrack, I'm gonna be excited to hear that as well.
Yeah, I actually almost took Friday off just so that I could play the game. And I was talking with one of the guys I work with, and he's like, I took Thursday and Friday off specifically because that game was coming out.
Now I'm looking. I just pulled up the listing of songs, the music that's going to be on Cyberpunk. It says Polish game developer CD Projekt Red has revealed new details about the soundtrack for its forthcoming game, which arrives December 10th. In addition to Run the Jewels' recent track No Save Point, the soundtrack boasts new music from Grimes, Ratboy, Sophie and Shy Girl, The Armed, Health, Let's Eat Grandma's Rosa Walton, and others. Each of the I gotta admit, I've never heard of any of these groups. Any of the artists in the game will take on pseudonyms in the Cyberpunk 2077 universe. Grimes is Lizzie Wizzy, for example. I have heard of Grimes.
Yeah, I know Grimes is,
the duo of Sophie and Shy Girl are known as Clockwork Venus. The soundtrack will be accessible in-game via radio stations a la Grand Theft Auto 5. Mm-hmm. Volume 1 of the soundtrack is out December 11th, while Volume 2 arrives a week later on December 18th. Below, find the full track list of artists and the respective Cyberpunk names. What happened?
The Run the Jewels song is just absolutely amazing. I actually wasn't familiar with them beforehand, so hopefully this is going to give them a lot of exposure.
What kind of music would you call it?
It's definitely rap, but it's got this. I hate to just say cyberpunk when the name of the game is literally cyberpunk. There's this complete cyberpunk aesthetic to it. The backbeats are all these sort of broken down digital samplings and sort of this really muddy, glitchy bass sound. It's really, really solid.
Okay, very cool. I mean, like, I think one of the things that people tend to overlook when they talk about games is the soundtrack sometimes. I mean, people always get hung up on, the graphics and the gameplay and this, that, and the other thing. And I think, honestly, the music in a game can really, really set it apart.
Just earlier today, I was at work, which is also from here, thanks to COVID. I was listening to the Diablo 15th anniversary soundtrack, which
Yeah, I
had
saw you
samples
talk
from
about
the
that.
original Diablo, but also Diablo 2. And that theme from Town, the Tristram theme with the guitars, is so absolutely iconic. All you have to do is listen to it, and it just immediately takes you back there to, listening to Farnham the drunk say things like, "What? Drink water? Why would I do that?" And then getting into some of the stuff from Diablo 2 and the expansion in the Barbarian Zone, listening to it now and hearing these real clear influences from Basil Polidori's Conan the Barbarian soundtrack.
Yeah,
I mean, it really just transports you listening to some of this old music of these places that don't really exist, but that we've all been to in some capacity. If you're a gamer, if you have this sort of shared gamer consciousness.
Final Fantasy games are also really good about that too. A lot of very orchestral stuff. Florence and the Machine did a song in the latest in Final Fantasy 7, or Final Fantasy 15, and it was actually a cover. I can't remember what it is now, but it was really, really cool. I was playing. It's funny. I was watching the latest episode of Critical Role last night, and during the break in the middle, they do they play some music while they're showing fan art that gets sent to them, and that music is actually from a game that a lot of the voice actors worked on, Pillars of Eternity, and it's a really great game, very top-down isometric, similar to Baldur's Gate, and Stella even commented from the other room. She was like, "Wow, that music sounds really great." I'm like, "Yeah, it's actually from a video game."
I was lucky enough a couple of years ago, well, more than a couple of years ago now, to go to the Dear Friends event where they have a full orchestra perform music from Final Fantasy, and that was just so amazing to hear songs like One Winged Angel, the Sephiroth theme, with a full chorus and a full orchestra.
Yeah, I mean, it really does. It can set the mood. I mean, just walking around playing Skyrim, you can hear listening to the music for that, and listening the music that's played when you're playing Fallout 4, all of the kind of retro-y 1950s kind of music, themed music.
Or Grand Theft Auto Vice City. I can't believe they got all those bands to make songs that sounded like they came from the 80s.
I know, it's crazy, right?
That was really incredible.
I haven't played any of the Grand Theft games.
Well, I mean, you're excited for Grand Theft Auto Night City, from what I understand.
Grand Theft Auto Legacy?
No, Night City. That comes
Night
out.
City.
That comes out Thursday.
Exactly.
Grand Theft Auto in the near future.
Yes.
The best part of Grand Theft Auto, I mean, I won't say the best part was the soundtrack because it's not. I mean, but the radio stations.
You like the beating on the hookers, don't you?
Nah. That was a little much for me, but no, but listening to the radio in Grand Theft Auto was great because not only did you get, depending on which one you were playing, you got music from those eras, but then you also got these amazingly hilarious radio commercials or talk radio shows or like what was it? The brown donut, chocolate donut brown. Yes. I don't know.
I remember one. It was what was it, like the Love Doctor or something? And he says, so your accent's interesting. Where are you from? And he says, well, I am Latin. And he says, hey, Latin's a big place, buddy. Maybe you might want to narrow it down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just some really, really great, hilarious stuff. And I mean, so the music really can really make or break a game, in my opinion.
So speaking of games, what have you been playing these days, Russ, Chris?
Right now, when I'm not playing D&D, I am playing the Vampire on the PlayStation 4, trying to get through that game, which has been really, it takes place in 1918 in London during the Spanish flu pandemic, so it's a little telling. It's a little
it's a little on the pulse.
A little bit on the nose. And but you're a British doctor at the time that gets turned into a vampire. And they've set up an entire kind of like, a very detailed setting. I know
there's two ways to play. There's really two ways to play the game. Right. You either drink a lot of blood or you try not to drink any human blood.
Right. You could be a monster and be like, kind of just be a vampire, or you can be somebody that's like trying to overcome and resist the temptation to do that. And every time, because yeah, you can go around drinking the blood of like the various characters, like when you're in combat and stuff like that. But then it also gives you the opportunity to like embrace the various like NPCs that you're talking to, and if you do that, it greatly changes the game. Like depending on how many. But the thing is if you do that, you also gain a lot more experience points faster, so you can level up faster. So there's that. But you can really fuck up your town. You can really fuck up London if you end up like drinking the wrong person, or even taking somebody out that seems to be a villain or letting a person live that seems to be kind of a good guy can really, change the environment that you're in. So it's a pretty cool game. I'm kind of rounding the bases on it. I'm about ready to I'm just started the last chapter, I believe chapter 4 of the game. I know Renee's played the game a number of times and she really enjoyed it.
Yeah, she finished it.
If you, Shawn, if you get the opportunity, I think it's available on Steam, so you can you can pick it up. It's a pretty fun game.
Vampire.
Yeah, Pyre, or no, just Pyr actually, Vampire Pyr, and it is it's a really it's going to be a nice kind of warm up for when Vampire the Masquerade finally comes out. The new Bloodlines 2 comes out. Now, unfortunately, I did see some news about that. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Here it is. Don't expect Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 in the first half of 21. Yeah. Now they are saying the boss of Paradox Interactive, Ebba Jongrud, has revealed we're likely to see Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 until the latter half of 21. As spotted by Eurogamer, he revealed to Swedish website Placera that they did not think it would come in the first half of the year, but we will see. And another blow to fans who've been waiting patiently for a sequel to the fan favorite vampire game since the original was released back in 2004. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 was originally set for a 2019 release, but was later delayed into 2020 in the hope of avoiding repeating the past mistakes, quote unquote, of the first game, which had a pretty buggy launch and was then delayed once again in August of 2020, probably because of COVID. So looks like they might have to wait a bit longer.
That's okay. Let it get delayed. I don't need that coming out while I'm still trying to play Cyberpunk. So
right. Besides Cyberpunk, or besides that, I'm also playing a couple other things. I'm playing Far Cry 5 on my computer. I'm still playing the resurgence of City of Heroes, which has been a lot of fun. I just recently purchased Spellforce 3. It was a game, kind of a combination RPG and tactical combat. And just kind of touching on things here and there, going back to Pillars of Eternity, thinking about revisiting Shadowrun, because they have the Shadowrun games too. How about you? What are you playing these days?
Diablo 3, actually. I picked it up for the console because of a really nice local co-op mode that it has. So my wife and son and I can all play at once without having to have separate gaming laptops that can all support Diablo 3.
Cool. That's cool.
Sometimes you just want to go through a dungeon, kill a lot of monsters, watch, the wolf explode into a full suit of chainmail, and who knows where that came from. Why that particular monster was carrying gold, they have no need for it, but it's all a lot of fun. And right now we're in the late game grind where it's just like getting your stats up that much little farther so you can up the game difficulty one more setting. Which has its minutes.
I have Diablo 3. I never finished it. I keep looking at it. It's sitting on my shelf for the PS4, and it was the first game I got second game I got for the PS4, because the first game was the one that came with it, which was Star Wars Battlefront. But it's one of those that I keep thinking about going back to because I have such fond memories of the original Diablo and then mostly Diablo 2. But
there's an Easter egg, from what I understand, at a certain time of year. I think it's an anniversary. They actually put Diablo 1 in Diablo 3, where it opens a portal to Old Tristram, and you can go in the cathedral and fight your way down the levels until you reach Diablo, just like in the original. And they even went as far as to limit your character's movement to only the 8 directional axis, like in the original before Diablo 2. It was true point and click.
That's neat. That's neat. I've played through Diablo 1 and I played some of Diablo 3, I believe, when one of my roommates had it, and they were living here. I like the game, but it's one of those games that I'm just kind of like, I need a little more meat.
It's a dungeon crawl.
It's a dungeon crawl game, yeah.
Yeah. So it's got a pretty decent plot, but as long as you rely on the fact that the worst possible thing can happen to the people in the game, everything's predictable.
Right, exactly.
Because that's Diablo.
Well, yeah.
Oh, I like this character. Oops, guess I shouldn't have liked them that much.
Yeah.
I'm mostly still playing MMOs. So I still play Star Wars: The Old Republic. I still play WoW. I actually just started getting back into WoW.
I am really tempted to go back to World of Warcraft.
Didn't they just have a huge new update?
They just had a new expansion, and they actually did a level crunch where they took the maximum level that was 120 and went, max level's now 60. And they basically crushed everybody down by half.
And so your power is still proportionate to what it was before.
Right.
So if you were 120, now you're 60. If you were 100, I think now you're 50. Something like that. Because the numbers were just getting ridiculous. It's not the first time Warcraft has done it. But I used to play a lot of World of Warcraft, and my wife never stopped. And so here we are looking at not traveling for the holidays and having a couple weeks, like 3.5 weeks of no work, not having to do anything and just sitting around the house. I'm tempted. Well, but it feels like tempted.
Yeah.
Like Frodo.
I've actually started characters over because with the crunch, I'm like, oh well, he's only 9th level. I'll just restart him and see what the new what the new thing is, because now that you go to one of the options is to go to Exile Islands, which is a whole different storyline. It's supposedly for like the newer players, but it's kind of a cool storyline, it's kind of story arc, and then after that, like if you're Alliance, then you go back to Stormwind afterwards. If you're on the Horde side, I believe you go back to Orgrimmar.
I mean, I quit at the end of the Pandaria expansion, which was a very pleasant surprise. I expected, Pandaland is going to be so corny. It was basically an April Fool's joke that went too far. I was really, really pleasantly surprised with the quality of the writing, with the story, with how likable the NPCs were. But right about that time, I stopped. My son was born, and I decided I need to level my son instead of my child, or instead of my my WoW character. One of the last things I did is I typed /played, which gives you how much time you've had logged in, not just
on
since your
player.
account's been active, but logged in. And I was nearing 2 years.
Wow.
And wow, exactly. Wow. And I realized that it was 2 years of like real life that I could have had instead of that. But now there's a pandemic going on.
Right.
I know a lot of people are getting back into it. A lot of people play.
And that's the thing.
Social outlet. I don't try to run a guild again and be like the leader of the raids on my server.
Yeah, I never got into the whole raid thing. That became a second job for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I never got into that. But I got into I started playing MMOs with EverQuest. So back in '99 is actually when I started. And
that's still going.
I know it is, and that amazes me. And every once in a while, I still want to go back and like reload it and just be like,
go to Norath and see what's up. Yeah,
I did it a while back, and I'm like, and I went to like sit down and I think it was I had to get my mana back, and I realized how much I hated that whole sitting and waiting for your mana to come back. It's like there's no. I'm like, you mean they haven't fixed this yet?
No, I had heard something about this game, and I could never verify it. And maybe you know, if you in EverQuest, if you type /pizza, was this a thing where you could actually set it up where it would order a pizza for you if you type /pizza?
Not that I recall. I never heard that.
Maybe it's one of those like gaming urban legends that you hear. Like Diablo has a cow level.
Yeah. But yeah, there were so many things in EverQuest that were just so horrible. Like the level grinds. They had the hell levels. Like every fifth level was a level that it, for some reason, you got less experience for the same kills than you did the level before, or you would get the level after. So it took you like 5 times as long to get through that level. And those were just the horrible levels. Oh, yep, I'm on a hell level now. I'm just going to sit and grind this out. And that was the thing. It was all grind. You would find places where you could fight certain creatures. Like there was an island in, I think it was around level 30, that people would fight over because there was one NPC out there that would respawn every like 3 minutes, and you could kite them around the island and kill them and get a decent amount of experience for it. And people would just sit out there for an entire day and just sit there and wait for this thing to spawn, kill it, wait for it to spawn, kill it. And you'd have people come out and go, oh, hey, you gonna be here much longer? Yeah, probably a few hours. Damn, okay. And then they'd leave because...
So I think this is what I was talking about earlier. MMOs or these shared gaming experiences, or even a decent Dungeons and Dragons campaign. You know, it's a shared experience, and you all feel like you've been there, like you've been to this place. You can talk to other people about it. Oh yeah, I went into this shop, and there was this guy, and he sold this toy train, and it was really cool. You know, Dalaran, it's this floating city, it's really amazing. And you realize these places don't really exist. Yeah. And yet we've all been there. And I love this concept that they're lands that are so, they might as well just be these distant lands that really exist somewhere. But we can't really quite go there. Like there are these real places that aren't real at the same time.
Mm-hmm. If only they were. Like someday I want to go to that D&D theme park out in Utah.
Yes. Yeah. It's wonderful shared experiences, and that is, you know, a game can have a really good soundtrack, or a really good aesthetic, or a really good experience, and that's fun and all. But I think really online gaming transformed it in so many interesting ways. It brought that shared experience in a lot of ways of a tabletop game into something that became more accessible. For a lot of people who enjoyed video games but maybe didn't enjoy what was basically an extension of tactical wargaming. Until just a couple of years ago. Particularly
open, any of the open world. Wow, look at that. That's the basic rules. That's the Red Book, man. Cool. But yeah, particularly any of the open world games that, like the Elder Scrolls, like you know, that you could, or Fallout, or any of the ones that you could also do group play, like Grand Theft Auto 5 now, and Red Dead Redemption 2. All those online things are same kind of thing. It's just the side of an MMO.
Yep.
So before we get into like talking Mandalorian stuff, because I know we did. What else did we want to talk about?
Well, we were going to talk about D&D a little bit too.
Let's get into some D&D. So, well, actually, before we get into that, because I know that's going to be a big conversation too, I wanted to do a couple of quick hits here that I found some kind of interesting, kind of quick things. So Marvel Comics is promising in 21 a rebirth. Now they're saying after the big Avengers storyline.
So DC had a rebirth, so now Marvel has to have a rebirth.
DC did this a couple of years ago, I think.
Right. Well, now Marvel is saying that it's about time that they had a big. Now Marvel hasn't had the same number of kind of like reboots and stuff that DC has. DC has regularly every. Yeah. I mean, they started in 85. They had another one about 5, 6, 8 years later.
The reboots are part of the mythos.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And death metal has been entertaining, but and there's probably going to be.
That's one of the things I want to read. I want to read.
There's going to be some really there was metal first, and now there's death metal, and it does look like there's going to be some big changes after death metal. But yeah, Marvel is running a storyline through the Avengers right now called Enter the Phoenix. And where they are actively combating the Phoenix and dealing with the Phoenix Force. And normally
is it Jean Grey Phoenix again, or is it?
Yeah, pretty much, yes, but not with Jean Grey, just the Phoenix. And and that's more so always been an X-Men problem, and now it's going to be the Avengers. So they're saying that after that's over, they're going to be
setting it up for the movies.
Well, we're going to be setting it up for a lot of big changes to happen in the Marvel universe.
Crisis on Infinite Wakandas.
Yeah, lots of them. The Wakanda, yeah. The Black Panther has been a major part of this storyline too, and in essence, he is the leader of the Avengers right now. So that should be an interesting kind of thing. What else we've got coming up? There's going to be several new X-Men books coming up pretty soon. An X-Corp or X-Corporation book that has been teased for a while.
I saw that back when it was called X Factor. Next.
But yeah, this is from what I understand, the comic is going to be dealing with the X-Men, dealing with international kinds of things. They've already been established as more of an international thing because the mutants are now more of a nation again. But this is going to be them more so as an outreach kind of situation.
So it sounds a lot like the original X Factor, maybe with a little Batman. A little more Incorporated kind of tossed
Batman Incorporated. Yeah. That's what I'm guessing as well. They are holding back on a couple of the new X-Men titles have been kind of pushed back. A bunch of stuff has been pushed back because of COVID-related kinds of things.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Ambush Bug #1. Ambush Bug Spectacular.
When are we going to see Ambush Bug?
Bug Annual. Crisis on Ambush Bug.
It's funny that you bring that up. A friend of mine was like saying he always kind of gives me a lot of shit about being a comic book nerd. And he was like kidding me about how he feels Cyborg is the dumbest superhero ever. And I'm like, dude, you have no idea. You have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, have you ever heard of Ambush Bug? And he went, no. I'm like, just look him up. Google
there's some dumbass comic characters out there.
Really dumb.
Particularly back from like the 60s and shit.
Yeah, yeah. How about the Condiment King? How about the Rainbow
Oh my
Raider?
God, yeah.
Rainbow Raider, Calendar Man.
I love that they brought Condiment King into Harley Quinn.
Mm.
Actually,
he was a joke character that they brought in, and then
Patton Oswalt wrote one of the stories in The Multiverse Who Laughs.
Yeah.
That actually, I think it takes place. I only glanced through it briefly. In an Arkham Asylum, and he makes really good use of Kite Man and Condiment King and things like that. And the idea is that there's this like actual like ruthless killer villain in with all of them, but they all keep getting better treatment. And it's driving him like bonkers. Like they're the ones getting punished and not him. He's like, no, punish me. I'm the killer. And they're like, no, we have killers. Come on. This guy's the Condiment King. That's crazy.
It's been some really cool stuff. Actually, Death Metal has been some really interesting stuff. They're really taking it and really running with it. But so we also have some other things here. The X-Men Reign of X era has the theme of expansion, according to Jonathan Hickman. So this is the story that's coming, that's running through the X-Men now. They just are finishing up the X of Swords storyline, and then the next big thing is going to be the Reign of X era, and or that we're still kind of, that's part of it. And they're just saying that it's going to get bigger and bigger, and they're doing some really amazing stuff with the X-Men lately. And
I need to catch up with Marvel because last I looked, just glancing through a book, like they're on an island and they're just hanging out with Apocalypse and Mr. Sinister, like chums.
Well, basically there was a general amnesty on all mutant crimes according to the nation of Krakoa. So they're basically living on Krakoa.
The living island, yeah. And they are they have these gates, these teleport gates that can take them all over the world and to the moon and all across the galaxy and all kinds of different places.
How convenient!
Yeah. So they have a lot of access to a lot of different places, and the mutant nation has basically said, hey, if you're a mutant, just come on in. If there was a general amnesty, if you commit a crime after the general amnesty, then we will deal with that crime. But if you're a mutant and you commit a crime, they need to be, the mutants basically say, just give them to us and we'll take care of it. And so Apocalypse and Sinister were both made part of like the ruling council.
Magneto was right.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, Magneto's there too, and that's the other thing too. They have basically a resurrection protocol. So if you die, they can bring you back. And it's like
how convenient.
Well, it's not easy. Using the powers of about 5 different mutants combined together, they can bring.
Oh, they don't just have like a pit of liquid that they put them in and pull them out.
No, not quite that simple. But it's
Phoenix. They call it the Phoenix Pit.
The Phoenix Pit. The Phoenix Pit. Yeah, exactly. But it's been kind of interesting, that kind of stuff. Let's see. Oh, Deadpool, the co-creator of Deadpool, Rob Liefeld, will be returning to Marvel for after his high-profile exit to help celebrate Deadpool's 30th anniversary.
I for one welcome our many-pouched small feet overlords.
He definitely had a certain flair, shall we say. As an artist, I hate everything he stands for. Wow. But Rob Liefeld certainly made an impact.
I'll give this to him though. He was like the art style of this a certain block of time in the 90s. I mean, every book had some influence from the way he drew things.
Yeah, very much so. He did set a style from the
if it didn't look like something Jim Lee or Liefeld drew, it wasn't getting published.
That's true. That's very true. There was a very distinct style in the early 90s, and it grew out of Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld's direct influences. And it's I can look at a book, I can look at an image and know immediately if it was from that particular era.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of his artwork, and I recognize a lot of this.
Yeah.
Look up the Liefeld cover of Captain America #1.
Oh, so bad.
Let's see. Captain America.
There was a
wow.
Is it the super huge chest?
Yes. Yeah. Holy crap. Cap's got some crazy ass pecs.
Somebody broke that down. Somebody broke that down biologically, like how he would look if he was naked.
Well, I actually see a picture here of Chris Evans with that chest. They actually like superimposed that chest, and his head's like this big compared to.
That was right after, if I remember, Russ, correct me, Heroes Reborn.
Heroes Reborn.
The exactly only thing that was selling at Marvel were the X books at the time. So they took the Avengers and basically rebooted them in an alternate universe.
Yep, and they gave several books to Jim Lee. They gave several books to Rob Liefeld.
Yeah,
and basically said fix them. And Rob Liefeld fucked them up. He fucked his up. Jim Lee did a pretty good job. He had the Fantastic Four. He did some really cool stuff with the Fantastic Four. Rob Liefeld made a mess of the Avengers, and thankfully all that stuff was just considered a pocket universe and is not canon. But it was just like yikes, the things.
So I'm seeing comparisons of Cap to Schwarzenegger back in his Mr. Universe days. And I'm sorry, Cap is still bigger.
Yeah. Rob Liefeld's art style took biology and proportion and threw it straight out the window. Like, it just does not. Like, oh, we don't. I mean, he used to obscure their feet because he hated drawing feet. He would draw smoke, or he would draw other things in front of them.
Their legs would fade into the like a Kubrick movie, just one-dimensional perspective. Their legs would just disappear into the distance.
Yeah, it was messed up. So Rob Liefeld, I will admit his art has grown at least somewhat over the years. It has changed and gotten, I guess you could call it better.
I will give him this though. He's a way better artist than I am. I'm a terrible artist. So far be it for me to talk down about someone who has made their living at a craft that I would have no chance
He's rich.
Making my living at.
He's actually, I mean,
exactly.
during the Image days when he broke off and started Image, he was making money hand over fist. He was living a rock star lifestyle for a while. Mm-hmm. And if you watch the documentary about Image, he did extremely well and is still writing checks off of Deadpool. So the guy did pretty damn well. And
I heard so Image made me think of the other sort of similar kind of comic houses or subsidiaries of Image that started up at the time. I heard Top Cow was coming back.
Yeah, for
Witchblade, Darkness.
Yeah, they never really went away completely, but now there's a bigger push towards for those characters.
I will say when like Image and Top Cow and Dark Horse, when they all were starting to come out and starting to make a name, I honestly was drawn into them by their artwork for the most part, because their art I thought was superior to everything going on in DC and Marvel at the time.
Well, that was the thing. I mean, most of everybody that formed Top Cow or formed the Image companies, Top Cow, Wildstorm, the Spawn and Savage Dragon books, that kind of thing. They were all the top artists in the industry. They were all the guys from Marvel that were like, we're going to go and do our own thing. And at first DC was like, oh, maybe they're going to come and they want to work for us. And they went immediately after quitting at Marvel, they went across the street to DC and said, hey, just so you know, we just quit and we're not going to work for you guys either. And everybody kind of like,
what?
Shit. So, and they formed their own company. And Jim Lee did very well. He kept a tight ship and things went out on time and everything. Rob Liefeld, on the other hand, it was craziness. It was a party, and they had a tough time keeping things on track. And now granted, most of those companies have either been absorbed by other companies. Jim Lee sold Wildstorm to DC Comics, so a lot of those characters that he created can be seen in DC.
Which is why Grifter is now back in Batman.
Correct. And some of his other characters had shown up from time to time.
Yeah.
But to move on, a couple other things here. I noticed it's a funny story. Going back to Cyberpunk 2077. Apparently the sex scenes in Cyberpunk 2077 have been showing up on Pornhub. That there are actually, because this is a CD Projekt Red game. It is an adult game, and there are various points when you can have sex with prostitutes or whatever else, like you could in The Witcher. And apparently the scenes have been showing up on Pornhub. I'm not going to make a link or anything, but if y'all want to check them out, they are apparently there. For your not safe for work viewing pleasure.
Well, I mean, it is Cyberpunk, so I'm sure those scenes
spoilers.
Are people typing to each other.
Yeah, they're just typing. It's just
words.
Naughty.
It's like Demolition Man. They put on the headsets and it's like, whoa!
Hey! Virtual reality sex.
Sometimes if you're into it, there's seashells involved. It's not for me, but
hey, he doesn't know how to use the seashells.
Hey, we now know why the seashells came about.
I still want to know.
No, dude,
it's because of
this. It's the toilet paper shortage of 2020.
Yeah, but how do you use them? I still don't know. Okay, so another thing. What's that?
Yeah, you
kind of scoop it and
put it in there. Russ, I'll give you a demonstration a little later.
All right, I'm still trying to make plans to come visit, so maybe we can figure it out. So also, guys, I talked about it probably briefly when I first heard about it. The Robert Kirkman project, the next big Robert Kirkman project is Invincible, the animated series on Amazon.
Yes.
Wow.
Invincible was a comic book that Kirkman wrote for 160 issues, I think it was, just shy. And it's his superhero story. It created an entire universe, and it was a great ongoing book. Fantastic. I loved Invincible. It was one of those comic books that I would recommend to people who didn't really read superhero books but wanted to try them. And because you didn't need 30, 40, 50, 80 years of backstory. it was just this great self-contained, book that ran for about 12 years. And it's really, really fantastic. So they just announced a couple more additions to the cast, and it is going to be produced by Seth Rogen is one of the producers, but he's also the cast is incredible. Sandra Oh, Seth Rogen, Walton Goggins, Zazie Beetz, Gillian Jacobs. We're also going to see Clancy Brown as one of the characters, Damien Darkblood.
It was 144 issues, which is what I thought it was because
okay.
because I remember us talking about it. I remember you mentioning that it was 144. Yeah.
Russ, I'm disappointed. You said 160. I mean,
can't remember everything, man.
Can I trust you about anything now? What else are you going to lie to me about? You're going to tell me this isn't episode 7?
Look, Santa Claus is real.
But I've missed something in between.
Yeah, we went 4 years without another episode, so it's
because you couldn't get a hold of me.
Yeah,
the show can't go on without me.
All the jokes. Ezra Miller has also joined the cast. Famous for kind of a big star these days. He's the Flash in the DCEU. He's also he's also a big character in the new Harry Potter.
I don't remember his character's name in that, but yeah.
Let's see, Mahershala Ali. It's so hard to say that. Mahershala Ali. He's going to be playing one of the villains as well as
fantastic actor,
playing a character.
Absolutely.
So, oh man, that guy's amazing. So anyway, it's coming out in 2021, and I did post a link to the trailer on the Facebook group. So if you guys want to check,
I watched it. It was pretty cool.
It looks great. Very well done animation. Looks very, very movie quality animation. I am really excited about this.
The art style actually very much reminded me of the comic book. So you can tell they're really looking at the source material.
Yes, very much so.
Drawing from that.
Yeah, I agree. It's a very clean, very classic kind of style of art. It
feels sort of like that the DC superhero. I forget the artist. It started with Batman the Animated Series and became Justice League.
Paul Dini.
Paul Dini. It felt very Paul Dini in a lot of ways, with the clear lines.
Well, they had an artist on the book for the first 12 issues, and then he left, and then the artist that took over did the next 100 issues. I mean, he was on it for the majority. Now he's actually been, I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now, but he has been doing Spider-Man for a while too. After Invincible ended, he went over and did one of the new Spider-Man books, and he was doing a great job. But yeah, I'm super excited about this. I think it's going to be a great, really great animated series, and I'm pretty much as excited
Ryan
as
Otley.
I am. Ryan Otley, thank you. That's exactly it. I'm very much excited, almost pretty much at the same level as I am for the Critical Role cartoon as I am for this.
I'm looking forward to that one too.
Yes,
that and the Lord of the Rings series on Amazon.
Both
have me completely keyed in.
I'm really excited about that. Hey, I also heard they just started filming on. They started working on the season 3 of the Orville.
Oh, nice. Awesome!
Mm-hmm. So finally, that is
more Star Trek than Star Trek.
Yeah, amazing. One of my friends mentioned the other day. He was like, "Yeah, they just started. You just saw a thing about it." So I'm like, "That's great." Let's see. Okay, so why don't we talk a little bit about some D&D talk?
Russ, one of the reasons that it actually looks so much like the comic is because Corey Walker, the original comic book artist, signed up as lead character designer.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, Corey Walker was the original artist, and then Ryan Otley took over.
And
that was it. Well, that's cool. That's awesome. Get the original artist to work as a concept artist guy. That's fantastic. So D&D, we're all, very avid D&D nuts. Chris is my current DM. Shawn is my former DM. Shawn and I played for 6 years in a Pathfinder game.
Yes.
That was absolutely fantastic. The Misfits. Jesus. Keep on the
So the Misfits was the fact that we had run the standard races for a really long time. You know, you can only tell those stories with humans and elves and dwarves so many times, and I wanted something radically different.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, we can either be maybe like an all dwarf game or all elf game, which had actually been done before.
Yeah.
But instead, for that particular game, we settled on all monstrous humanoid races.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was really fun. One of my favorite characters I've ever played.
Yeah, and hence
You're a
why the
Noel
party
cleric,
was called the
weren't you,
Misfits,
Russ?
because they were all good aligned in a lot of ways. They all went against the tenets of the societies that they came from.
Yeah,
we had a kobold who started as a coward, ended up as one of the bravest characters in the group.
Yeah, Nibar.
Your character was the Noel cleric who
Yep.
went from sort of a animism to really the more clerical view of things.
Mm-hmm.
And also of the healer was the butt of many dog jokes.
Yes.
Like when you go to the healer and you tell them heal.
Yes, I was known as the Holy Hound of Asia.
The Holy Hound of Asia, who was the goddess of light in this campaign world.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it was really out of the ordinary for a Knoll character or a Knoll at all to be worshiping an elf/human kind of eccentric god of light and whatnot.
You made it yours. You took it and you made it yours.
It was really great. I mean, Korak ended, I think, about our level 15 when we retired the campaign. We had a half-orc Sitha, which is, maybe not one of the more out of the ordinary monstrous races, but it was still, kind of still within the theme.
Yeah.
And we had a character that was essentially a homunculus. Anthony's character, wasn't he? He was like, it was a created human.
Yeah, he didn't know it at first though, but
yeah.
he was an alchemist, and it turns out later there was a reason he was an alchemist, because he was a product of alchemy,
right?
In a lot of ways.
Exactly. So. We had a druid that hated nature, essentially.
So did all these people work for the Trump campaign?
Not
Collective
quite.
denial of reality. I don't know.
But we had we had a great time. Shawn's campaign was very well just involved, and we had some like I said, I mean, I've often said it's one of my favorite campaigns I've ever played in, and just a lot of fun.
Well, I won't make you compare it to Tavern Knights.
Tavern Knights we've only been playing for a fraction of the time, so
I've been playing for just over a year.
Right. I'm having a good time, but I still got to say, it's not quite as good yet as the Misfits. But
well, if you ever need a guest, I'm happy to come on and completely annoy everyone to the point where you'll never want to have me back.
We have talked about having guests. I just have to get to the point where we can do it.
Right. Yeah, and he's got to have I'm sure a part in the story where it's but I'm sure that'd be great.
So Tavern Knights, if I want to get into Tavern Knights, what episode or what happening was probably one of your favorite things, Russ, that happened in that game? Talk about shared experiences and imaginary spaces.
Well, we fought this guy, the spider, and we took him out pretty fucking fast because it was just what was it? Fireball, or it was a web spell, fireball, web caught on fire. Guy the dude just took
it was
actually extra fire.
It was really well played by the wizard.
Yeah.
This group has magic flying everywhere.
We have a lot of magic users in this party.
They have a wizard, a sorcerer, a bard, a cleric, a paladin,
and then a monk,
and a fighter.
So, and we do not have a thief. We do not have a rogue class. I mean, the bard is kind of a rogue class.
Actually, your wizard is the one that does most of the lock picking and stuff like that, because he's got the highest dex.
I have to say, for anyone who's ever a one-off guest in a D&D game, everyone likes a bard.
Ian,
you just show up and you're like, "Hey, everybody."
One of my favorite things.
Say no to that. You're not stealing the spotlight, even though you are the charismatic character and kind of the center of attention, the front man of the band, so to speak. But you just show up and give everyone bonuses, let them re-roll their saves. Everybody likes a bard.
One of my favorite things in this game so far has been Ian playing that bard. Because one, he's a bard. He's a bard with a 7 intelligence.
Yeah,
and he plays it up. And
he really does. He does a voice. He does the voice of basically Zaf Brannigan on Futurama.
And he makes up songs though for his spells. Like when he does talk to plants, he sings I want to talk with botanicals. I want to walk with botanicals.
When he did some kind of spell that's like a thunder sonic effect, and he did essentially thunderstruck.
Oh yeah, that was it was a thunder. It was a thunder
wave,
thunderclap.
Thunder wave.
Yeah, thunder wave. Yeah,
thunder wave.
And he's done fairy fire.
He knew 3 chords, and he went a lot. So that
and it's funny because he plays on a real mandolin too.
Yeah.
So he pulls up his mandolin and he just and it's just like the dude's really funny too. So it's like I mean, you guys could pun off, I'm sure, quite a bit.
What's the overarching plot?
Well,
is it a homebrew campaign world or if
it's Greyhawk
Realms or Kryn?
It's Greyhawk.
It's Greyhawk.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, it's Chris's homebrew, but
Hollow World. You're going Greyhawk, Blackmoor, Greyhawk. Yeah.
Holy shit. But I believe, Chris, you're pretty much, you are using a lot of your, it's a homebrew, but you are using some pulling in resources for maps and stuff like that.
What I've done is, because of COVID, I have had to modify what I was doing. It is my campaign idea, but what I'm doing now is I'm taking like modules, like adventures, and modifying them to be more what I want them to be. Because
absolutely inspiration to be found in modules.
Well, and it's also just that I want the maps is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to try and design the maps in Roll20 because that's a pain in the fucking ass.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I can just buy the module, import the maps, and then put my own stuff in there, then I'm good with that.
That's one of the reasons I picked up it was a Pathfinder module called the Emerald Spire. And it was one of those super dungeons. Each level of the dungeon was designed by a different person who had really made a name for themselves in the industry, in the Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop industry. So reading each level, kind of reading between the lines, you could take inspiration from how they put things together. Unfortunately, some of my favorite authors, though, got like level 1 and level 2. So there's not a lot of room to be creative there. When you're like, here's 3 goblins, I guess, because any more than that and you're all dead,
Well, one of the things that's fun in Tavern Knights is that the wizard is actually a halfling.
Yeah.
And he's petrified of goblins.
Petrified.
I mean, like he's like, I'm gonna misty step my ass over there because there's 3 goblins in front of him. But he hears there's a dragon in this tower, and he's like, let's go get it.
Yeah. He's
nice.
fearless about everything else. But he was, and the cool thing is that the player has played that up. He's done a great job role playing that he has PTSD because of a goblin attack.
Bad stats are not necessarily a bad thing in D&D as long as you can really play it. Now it's going away from it in the newer versions of D&D, Pathfinder, any kind of D20 based system. But I used to pick bad combinations on purpose. Half-orc, negative to charisma, great, I'm a paladin. Or dwarf, negative to charisma, sure, I'll be a dwarven bard. What kind of a character is a dwarven bard? Like maybe he's gruff because of that rough dwarven edge, but can you imagine like an army of dwarven war singers pounding on their drums and smashing their hammers against the rocks in time as they charge into battle? I mean, you can do some really amazing things with these odd combinations that don't necessarily fit the min-maxing to get your stats to the absolute top.
One
of my favorite short-term characters I ever played was a dumb as rocks barbarian half-giant, but he was also a pacifist.
Nice.
Except when he pushed him too far and the wraith kicked in and he kind of blacks out and murders everything. Because I min-maxed his stats completely. But conversely, I gave him this hindrance because it would be fun to roleplay.
See, I don't like the concept of a dump stat because I think every stat is important at some level, at some point. So, even if
and 5th edition's made it that way.
Yeah, and it is. It's one of the nice things about 5th edition. And they so I like the fact that if you do have a low stat for something, it really, it still comes into play as an important part of the game.
It gives you a great chance to role play.
Yeah, like I was actually looking at the Mighty Nine's stats yesterday, and I was like, wow, yeah, they've got a couple Yasha has a 7 in, I think, her charisma or something like that. And then the same couple of the other characters have pretty low stats, except for Jester. Jester doesn't have anything under a 12. She's actually got the best all-round stats. And but yeah, like honestly, Shawn, you should see Mara Karras' stats. I'll have to show them to you. Like I rolled probably the best stats I've ever rolled. I've got 2 18s. I've got a 17. All of my stats are fairly ridiculous. And I rolled them. And then he's an ASMR. So then he also got bonuses, and he's a paladin, and it's just like I'm fucking badass. And at 6th level.
Who would win in a philosophical debate then? Your Tavern Knight's character or your holy Knoll cleric?
Now Korak has a much higher wisdom and probably a higher intelligence than Marikaris. So I would say
Marikaris got a higher charisma, though. I bet
Marikaris is a much higher charisma, I'm sure. So, but I'd still say probably Korak because he's also older and wiser. Marikaris is only like in his early 20s, and he's only sixth
I know
level.
For a Knoll, wasn't he in his early 30s? I mean, that's like ancient for a Knoll.
Yeah, he was getting up there.
I mean, in human years, that's like 90 something. So
yeah, he was getting up there.
One of the things that I truly am enjoying about Tavern Knights, though, is that 3 of the 7 characters of the 7 players are brand new to D&D. Yeah, they've only been playing for a year. My wife and both of her brothers, and
they are some of the most excited to play.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. They are so excited to play. They're constantly posting on our Discord chat about how I can't wait for the next game, and like Rich today was saying, 10 more days. Shit, I can't believe it's that long. And it's one of those things that their excitement is infectious.
Yeah,
it's really gotten me really into this game.
Yes, that feedback.
Yeah,
that direct
and they're doing a great job too.
Oh, they are fantastic.
Like Pete's the wizard. He's the halfling wizard, and he has been doing a really good job. He's been really creative about his spell use. The same thing with Rich. Rich has been really good too.
He's a cleric of Pelor, the god of light,
and and it's funny, honestly, watching Renee get the shit kicked out of her every episode. And she's our dwarven monk, and she's just like, we were talking about it at the end of the game last time about how we need to get her a higher AC because she keeps getting her butt kicked.
And she actually posted a little bit ago saying Klimbrim's a hothead. She's smart but not wise.
Right, exactly. and what else is really funny too is like, because unfortunately, I've had to miss a few sessions because of work. And every time I'm not there and somebody else plays my character, that shit gets dark. Like, shit gets dark. They're like, damn near close to torturing characters and stuff. That's why I was like, y'all need some characters.
They didn't do that. They just didn't help the prisoners. They're like, they find these prisoners in this orc cavern, and these orcs have been marauding and killing people all throughout this area, and they find these two people trapped in there, and they're like, "Will you escort us out?" And they're like, "No." And we're like, "Why don't you just wait? Why don't you just wait there, and we'll come back for you later?" And they're like, "No."
We don't want to wait. Yeah, and then they're all like, and they give them. Then they take one of my spare weapons. Here, have this. This Warhammer. Marikaris doesn't need it, and go on with your day. And you could see it was a farm, like a farm woman and her daughter, and you could just see this woman holding this like huge Warhammer, could barely swing it, and barely lift it. And it's like, now I'm all set. I'll defend myself. And I saw that I watched the episode before because like I said, I couldn't be there, and I'm like, man, you guys are fucking, that's messed up. It's really messed up.
First thing he said the next time he came out was, "You all need some Maricaris in your life."
Hey, the best moments in Dungeons and Dragons campaigns usually are the most messed up ones.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Shawn, tell us a little bit about the game you're playing these days. I mean, you said it's kind of a pirate ship kind of.
Yeah,
right?
so it's actually the same homebrew world that started 20 years ago now, which I can barely believe, and has had, anywhere I've moved in the country, this rotating cast of players, all contributing to the lore and building on it, and every new campaign is just a couple years later than the one previous, and it feels in my head like this real persistent place with this whole crowd of people, that one day I'd love to have like a convention and bring everyone who's ever played together, and it would be like 40 people, 50 people at this point who've all shared this world that just basically runs around up here and drives me half mad. The current iteration of it, though, is very Star Trek: The Original Series. In the original series, it was basically the ship goes to a new place or a new planet, stuff happens, and it's generally self-contained. There might be some overarching thematic elements, right? Klingons might come back every once in a while. But generally, each of the planets were kind of self-contained. They didn't really go back to a previous planet. And I wanted something that was a little more consumable like that, a little more bite-sized than a sprawling epic with several dozen NPCs. So in this game, it's essentially, imagine the Age of Sail. Like the dawn of gunpowder. Cannons are the latest technology, the absolute most exotic thing. And the party sails the seas from island to island, looking for pieces of the MacGuffin, of the story elements, so that they can get to the final island and take control or prevent the bad guy from taking control. And it's been a lot of fun to develop what is essentially miniature campaigns along the way. So again, there's recurring elements. There's a lot because it's a nautical game. There's a lot with the Sahagin and underwater kingdoms trying to take people out. But most of the action takes place either on their ship at sea, or while their ship is anchored, they're exploring some island where something has happened, where there's some sort of theme to the island to kind of drive the plot forward. So it's been a lot of fun to sort of be able to design almost like mini campaigns along the way.
Very cool, very cool.
Model episodes, exactly.
Is
here in Discord.
Is each island dramatically different? I mean, do you have like an island that's all like Grecian? Do you have an island that's all like a little more traditional D&D? I mean, things like that.
So being islands, they don't have huge nations to play with, which can be a little bit of a challenge to confine yourself that way. The first island they went to was a place already established in the game called Lachlan, which is sort of a Scotland, Ireland analog. And they tooled around there for a while in the early levels. Then eventually moving to another island, which was essentially abandoned, where they first encountered the terror of the Sahagin by accidentally defiling one of their altars to use it as a dinner table.
Look at this nice flat, look
at this flat surface. Let's just clear it off.
There's some in a hero's feast on it. Come on.
Yeah, what are these red stains? This ketchup or something. Let's get this off of here. The next island was a complete take. It was my take on the old Star Trek: The Next Generation episode Inner Light, where they show up to the island and something on the island draws them into living a dream existence where they've lived some sort of alternate life, insofar that their character sheets and the characters they play are slightly different versions of themselves that exist in this sort of recording of the last days of the island. So later, when they wake up and find themselves surrounded by ruins, they recognize the ruins, because in their sort of dream life, they lived a part of their existence here. They remember that this vague outline of stones on the ground isn't just a vague outline of stones, but that's the butcher shop where Sam the Butcher lived, and they knew him quite well because of this dream state that they were in. So that was really fun to sort of get them out of their own characters for a little while and sort of twist things a little bit and challenge them to play things slightly different. Where they have just landed, and some of them may be watching, so I can't give away too many spoilers, is essentially an island of the undead, where at one time this colony island, the emperor of this island, the ruler of this island, decided that his wisdom shouldn't perish with him, and so he embraced the state of undeath so he could continue to serve his people. And eventually more and more and more people did that, until you had this situation where the living were now serving the dead. And of course, that's not tenable in the long term. So what they're finding now are the ruins of such civilization, which is essentially a giant necropolis. The entire island is a necropolis, is a cemetery.
Sounds really fucking cool, man.
It's been a lot of fun. Essentially, I get to go to the monster generators for encounters and just say undead generate and see what comes up.
Fucking badass. So tell me about some of the characters that you have in the party.
So the one of the more interesting characters is Roquan, who is a pirate ship captain who was kind of an Aladdin street rat growing up. Kind of that background, the literal D&D 5th edition background, and then later became sort of a sailor and a bit of a pirate. And their ship is almost a character unto itself. It is called the Inferno, and this is because one of the first adventures I ran them on, if Inferno sounds familiar, was that I had just watched Goonies, and they needed a ship. Yeah. They needed a ship to join this fleet of explorers, and they couldn't just buy one. And so they heard rumors that there was this pirate captain's ship that he had hidden away in this mountain. And so they went to the mountain, and over the course of about 2 or 3 sessions, basically played through Goonies. I watched it with a piece of paper in my hand, and I wrote down the traps, and I wrote down the encounters. Like the Scarelli brothers were a tribe of orcs that lived up top, including Mama Scarelli, chasing after them. It was truly a lot of fun. One of the other characters he plays, his character's name is Azrael, and he is a very old man in his late 90s, who at a very young age showed promise, magical aptitude. But when he finally got to the school, he couldn't conjure up a single spell. So sort of half out of pity, they relegated him to being the assistant librarian, until one day, just before the start of the campaign, he managed to get off a cantrip. And so he decided, that's it, I'm going adventuring. But of course, he's this decrepit, ancient old man who can barely get around. And it makes the Island of Undeath very interesting for him, because he started asking questions of some of the NPCs about, how exactly are you achieving lichdom? Maybe you could share that with me. So it's always fun in a D&D game to see what characters people come up with and how those characters change over time.
Oh, absolutely.
That's how you can really drive a character arc, not just I'm going to roll the dice, I'm going to up my stats.
Yeah.
But a character who starts one way and at the end wouldn't even get along with the person they were at the start of the campaign.
Mm-hmm. I've been really trying to do that with my last couple of characters, like Ed Rohn, who's one of our players. He was I was in a D&D game with him a little while ago, and he's one of our experienced gamers in the Tavern Knights, and he had the ranger that I played in his game. I wanted very much to be kind of defined by what happened in the game. I didn't have like a set idea for him. He was just a young ranger in the area. His parents had been adventurers.
Was he that rarest of D&D characters who actually came from a happy home with both parents still alive?
Yeah, absolutely.
No tragedy.
His parents were retired adventurers that had now ran an inn, and I just kind of wanted a guy with it and kind of a blank slate, and I wanted to, and in some ways, Marikaris is similar, He's not exactly the same. He's got a little more plan. There's a little more plan, a little more background to him. But but I kind of am excited to see how this campaign molds this young ASMR paladin.
Mm-hmm.
I rarely get to play. I am in 3 different D&D campaigns. I play in one of them. I run the other 2. And the one that I play in is actually a 3.5 campaign. We started off in 4th, and everyone hated it so much that we unanimously voted to go back to 3.5. And I want to play in a 5e campaign because I haven't had that chance yet. I've never played a 5e campaign.
Well, let me know if you want a one-off in my game. You're welcome. But as someone who's been the dungeon master for so long, I don't know if you've had this experience too, where you become a player and it's fun for a little while, but then those creative juices start going. And as a dungeon master, if you have a whole campaign world, you can populate it with 1,000 characters of your own design.
Mm-hmm.
When you're playing, you have the one character.
Yep.
And it can be interesting to explore where that one character can go, but sometimes you have that dungeon master's itch to just say, well, maybe I should swap out, or maybe this character should take a radical new direction, just because I was interested in this kind of character before. Now I think it'd be really fun for this kind of character.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
like one of the new NPCs in my game is just basically a skull. He's just a talking skull. He used to be the alchemist to the high court of this land, and he's sort of a mix of like a really sarcastic C-3PO in his mannerisms. And I'm having an absolute blast with him.
It's Bob.
And it's just a new NPC. Now, would I play that as a character? Maybe, but would that be viable in the long term? I don't know. There's only so much my own unseen servant spell can carry around beside my own skull as a talking character. So
it reminds me of the character from the game that took place in Sigil. What was it? Or is it Planescape Torment?
Yeah, the skull there, Mort.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
considered one of the most popular and favorite NPCs.
Yeah.
To ever be.
I made great strides to differentiate this character from Mort's mannerisms, and eventually he gets his body back. But
cool.
But for now, he's just this talking skull that just complains about not having any hands, and kind of talks a little too quickly for people to keep up with him.
Well, we are approaching 2 hours, so we wanted to get into Mando before the.
Yeah, I don't know if we have time to really get into Mando.
Well, we could probably just like some initial reactions.
Holy shit!
Holy shit! Holy shit! Shawn, you've seen the latest episode, I would assume.
Yes. Do you need to see my nerd card? I mean, I
mean, come on.
Don't make me prove.
Holy shit. Now seeing, like I said, we don't really probably have time to get into the nitty gritty of the episode, but it was a very short episode compared to some of the other ones. It was just over half an hour.
Yeah.
And holy crap. I mean, the return of Boba Fett.
Well, and the return of, what's her name?
Ming-Na Wen's character.
Yeah. Who we thought was dead.
I was fairly certain we'd see her again. It was interesting to see that now she's cybernetic and whatnot. But just a friend of mine posted that this episode, it was the coolest we've ever seen Boba Fett. It actually made him substantially like
let's face it.
Cool fucking.
Well, he probably spoke more lines in this episode than he did in the entire set of movies ever.
Yeah, and let's face it, Boba Fett was the worst bounty hunter in the galaxy previously.
I don't know. He did manage to track them down. He got Han Solo. I mean, even all the other bounty hunters that Darth Vader lined up weren't able to do that. And Boba Fett was clever.
Well, that's the thing. He didn't really get Han. Vader got Han. He just collected the bounty and took him to.
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, seeing Slave One fucking flying in.
That moment, I got all excited. Yeah. My son looked at me like, "What? What's this?" I was like, "I failed as a father if you don't know what that is." Yeah. Honestly, I was like Stella was sitting next to me while we were watching. She hasn't been following the show, and I'm just like, "Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!"
that's Slave One, and that's Slave One, and
Russ,
she's just like,
I've gone to theaters to watch Marvel movies with you, so I probably know exactly how that went.
yes, you do, both of you are familiar.
What did?
And I had to like stop it, and I'm like, what, you don't understand, so yeah, that was, god damn, that was so cool seeing honestly just Tamira Morrison, who plays him, just fucking kick ass. I mean we saw him even before he got his armor back, and just seeing him fucking wade through
just like busting stormtrooper heads.
Yeah, and those stormtroopers, man, there were a lot on those two like troop carriers, and they left with a lot less.
Yeah.
And, well, so some of my favorite moments from the Mandalorian so far, and there haven't been many of them, are where stormtroopers are being kind of practical with each other. And one of those moments happened in that episode. So they're kind of pinned down. They're trying to get up the hill. They're getting blasted. They're getting beat up. And the stormtrooper commander is just yelling at people like, "No, up there, you idiot! What's wrong with you? Get over there!" like the two guys on the speeders back in season 1.
Yeah.
Where the episode opens and literally the two of them are like, "I'm not going to town. That guy killed his own men just to make a point." Best moments of the series so far. Those little practical moments with the storm.
Yeah. Well, finally, where they all just like loaded up back into the transports and got the fuck out. Yeah.
Compared to, how would you rate it compared to last week's episode, which was also huge?
I don't think this was quite as good. I liked last week's better.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd have to say I think I liked last week's better too. Because cinematically, that's the thing. Cinematically, last week's episode was
parallels.
Yes,
with Seven Samurai and Yojimbo were just so good.
Yeah, and that's honestly, what I really liked was just the feel of last week's episode. I thought had a bigger impact on me.
Yeah. And honestly, Rosario was amazing.
She was.
She's amazing.
But that's not at all to detract from the most recent episode. That was still absolutely phenomenal.
It was.
The whole show so far is way better than, in my opinion,
but
the Force Awakens, Skywalker saga sort of movies.
They've done more to for me. This series, particularly these last couple episodes, have restored my faith in Star Wars and what Star Wars can be. It's everything that has been destroyed since Disney took over, and even a little bit before that, because the first three episodes 1, 2, and 3 were also just crap. But I understand they wouldn't have been as bad. Take Jar Jar out, take out midichlorians, and it's not as horrible. It's still bad acting, but George Lucas can't write dialogue to save his fucking life.
Did you catch the midichlorians reference?
Yes.
I caught the midichlorians reference.
I did too, yeah. And I went, oh, fuck.
Yeah, so did I. Oh, God damn it. I thought,
but
what is it, something like M level or the highest amount of M level?
Or off the chart, something like that. Yeah.
So, but one of the things that I really like about what they're doing in Mandalorian, and it's all, I give it all to Favreau and Filoni, is that they are bringing back so much that has been destroyed by making it Legends. Yeah. They're bringing back so much. They've brought back the whole thing with Thrawn. Now they're in this latest one. Now they've brought back Boba Fett, which Lucas had said was dead. Originally, he said he escaped. Then he said, nope, he's dead. Now they're saying, now obviously, it's now canon, and he's alive.
And the Darksaber.
The Darksaber. But also, one of the things is when Boba Fett shows off his chain code, there, and I have to admit, I thought about doing this, but someone actually translated it. Because one of the things, in a lot of this...
Because why? Because Star Wars. Because why not?
Yeah. Well, the Imperial alphabet, or the Republic alphabet, or whatever it was at the time, is out there on the web, and I've even stopped parts of Clone Wars to translate things that were on like a screen just to see what it says, just to see if there's like a little goof in there or something like that.
I guess
and it's all accurate.
can't blame people for doing that, because the scene where he is tempted to sign the contract in Ready Player One, I actually paused the scene and read the entire contract. I can't blame people for doing that.
But when they do that, they found that what his chain code actually says is foundling, took into the year the Concord Dawn, Mentor Jast, Father Fett, Boba Fett. And it does some tie-ins to the comic book, which had become Legends for the Jango Fett comic book, and some other things. And the fact that Jango Fett was actually a foundling. He was found by, what was the guy's name? It was Jaster or something. Anyway, the guy that found him and brought him in to the Mandalorians, I got his name here, Jaster Muriel. And Muriel's the one that trained him up and did all that stuff. And then I guess he was also like he was Mandalore for a while. But it goes into the whole thing where, I mean, Concord Dawn is the planet where Jango Fett was from. And there's a lot, and the fact that it doesn't say anything about Boba Fett's origin, there's now a lot of speculation on are they trying to hide that he's a clone? Or is it just that Jango never wanted that known?
Well, it is the way.
Yeah.
It is the way. I
gotta say, with the Bo-Katan episode was also another great episode where they actually finally addressed the whole thing with him not taking off his helmet and the whole "this is the way" and all that. And he's like, "You're not Mandalorian." She's like, no, you're just that crazy sect."
Yeah. You're just those weirdos that refuse to do it. You know?
Yeah. Can you imagine the smell? Like, what does
yeah.
smells like?
One would assume and hope that it has some kind of self-cleaning kind of situation.
That's one of the benefits of Beskar, I suppose.
Yeah.
Also, one of the coolest things that I've heard is that when what's his name? The guy that plays Mando.
Pablo.
Yeah. Pascal.
Yeah.
Whenever he is actually doing his lines and he's like holding the child, he actually picks up a pillow and holds it while he's doing his lines.
Now, is it a puppet or is it digital? Because it looks like it could be both.
Well, but he records his lines. Yeah.
He's puppet and animatronic in some scenes, and then CG in some scenes, depending.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And it's not always him in the scenes. It's body doubles and stuff like that they use as well. But he actually records his lines separately. It's not him speaking on set with it that we hear. So, sure. But I guess when he's actually doing that voice acting, he actually picks up a pillow and holds it.
Yeah, I heard it was actually Anthony Serkis in a suit. He's just that good. He's that good. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It surprised me.
It's a little ridiculous on set, but
done almost everything else. So
yeah.
We should probably wrap things up.
We should probably wrap things up. Shawn, thanks again for joining us tonight. It was really great having you on. It's been really great. Honestly, I mean, I miss having you, interacting with you, hanging out with you anyway. But
anytime, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me on.
This was a lot of fun.
I think it's been
episode
great.
7 of
episode 7. It's funny, we talk about this all the time about wanting to have guests on more often, and then we end up like just bullshitting with each other. But now I definitely feel like we need to have you on more regularly. We need to have like Scott Mullen on.
Were we filming this whole time?
The whole time.
We were just drinking and just carousing
the whole time.
The whole time.
Oh, before we go, also, I mean, how much did it hurt to see the Razor Crest blown to smithereens?
Oh my God, that one hit me.
Yeah.
I mean, the Razor Crest is like the minivan of Star Wars, but it still hurt. It still hurt.
But
And
and him
Really
just
is. I mean, Mandalorian's just like this hassled dad trying to get his kid to daycare in a rundown old minivan, and it just keeps having problems. He just keeps running into like weird characters. He's a guy. I'm just trying to get to preschool. I just want to get to Starbucks, get a drink. Maybe on the way to dropping my kid off at preschool.
Yeah, well, and
Seriously.
And that's the thing, like him, like digging through or like going through the ruins of it was so sad. I'm like,
oh yeah, yeah. He picked up the little ball and put it in his pocket. He found thing, and of course he found the Beskar spear because that's the only thing that's going to survive.
Which unfortunately makes me sad because I don't think we're going to see that droid bounty hunter again. Voiced by Richard
Ayoade.
Ayoade, who I was so glad to hear that voice again a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
Just a little cameo.
Yeah, when she hacked the robot. So anyway, but I just wanted to touch on that before we went to. So, but guys, be sure to download and/or stream our show at all the places you can find quality podcasting. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on iTunes, we're on the Google Play Store, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, radio.com, and of course, you can download and stream all of our episodes from nerdswithalcoholshow.com, as well as seeing our shows on YouTube and Twitch at Drinking Nerds. Those are the
It is not safe, the lost tubes of sea. You never know who will be on the other end.
You can also follow us on most of the social medias. We're on Facebook, Nerds with Alcohol Show, Twitter at Drinking Nerds, Instagram Drinking Nerds, and we are on Untapped Drinking Nerds. Just send us a friend request and we'll get you added.
Absolutely. Once again, Shawn, thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot. It was a blast.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you on again, and it won't be 200 episodes later. It'll be on much sooner.
It'll only be like 100 episodes. So.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe 50. You know.
Anytime. I'm just here in the bunker. So.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, that's the thing. So. All right. Well, I think on that note. Until next time.
Thank you.
Sláinte.
Oh,
that was a good one.
Now you gotta have a good one.
I had two good glasses. That's why.
There you go.
All right. Have a good week, everybody.
Good night.